Hey everyone, Dan here. We are in the afternoon hours on Friday, June 4th. We're going to do an update on SoFi. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And let's dive right in. So SoFi has been taking a beating the last couple of days, ever since it rejected that 25 range on the 2nd. So to think just 2 days ago, and the first half of the day, we were making a push at 25, and now we had to just hold on to 20 today is pretty jarring. But I did have the idea, and 20 was a good bounce zone because of all this previous support that we saw here and previous resistance here. So it's a very strong zone of support and a nice round number to remember. So hopefully we won't need it again, but if we do, it should be there. Yeah, but I was thinking when it bounced at that area that this for these shorts that took all of these positions up here, I wouldn't be surprised if I see a bunch of them start to close out down here, because that's a nice profit and they've only had to hold for about 2 days. And so that's what, they would probably want to see happen. 2 days of really bludgeoning the stock and buying it back much cheaper than they borrowed it, and getting rid of the fee that they have to pay to do so. So for that reason, aside from anyone who's just wanting to buy in and find a good bounce zone to initiate a position, but for that reason alone, I thought that it had strong potential. And I think it continuously does as the afternoon goes on here. And I apologize for making the video earlier in the day than usual. It's my son's birthday today, and he's going to be home from school soon, and so I want to spend the afternoon with him on his birthday, and so that doesn't really allow for me kind of coming out at 4:30 or 5 after the market closes and doing a video. But anyway, I'm going to be looking for a bunch of buying pressure to keep coming in this afternoon, because these shorts are in a pretty good position right now. They may not want to risk what the weekend could bring or what next week could bring, and so they may be closing out regardless, locking in those profits, and it wouldn't be a short squeeze, but it may help kind of buoy the price a little bit in the short term. So I'm going to be looking at that as the day goes on, and it is getting support right now at this 2121 level, which we've had plotted since we drew this chart. And so it's good to see it, still respecting these levels. It tells me sort of like the chart in total is probably pretty accurate. And so looking for it to continue to hold there and build. But yeah, it's definitely taken a beating the last couple of days. But, just remember, if we can look at, I don't know, it's going to be a little bit hard to represent, but the big run up that started here in the 14s, that was just May 13th. So it hasn't even been a month, and it, got pretty darn close to doubling its share price in less than a month. So don't forget that, with this pullback. And then also, here you can see this purple zone really, really well, and see that, there's all this previous resistance. It was support here first, and then support here additionally, and that gave us the sort of like jumping off point to make that run at 25 in just a couple of days. So there's still a lot of potential for volatility here. I think there's a lot of potential for us to make a run at 25 again, but it's going to really take, yesterday I said, we need to see some green days piling in really, really soon, because it's kind of like a do or die moment for SoFi. I still think that's the case. I do think we're going to get some help this afternoon from shorts closing their positions. And then, whomever is interested in stock, institutions, retail, is going to have to show up next Monday, Tuesday in a big way in order to push this price. I think it needs to make a run at 25 again to really start kicking things into high gear, and getting the potential for this short squeeze really underfoot. The other thing that'll be interesting to see, and we won't have this for probably a couple weeks almost, so if this is still in play in a couple weeks, it'll be interesting to see what the percentage of the float that's being shorted is, since there are now so many more shares available with the merger with SoFi. So, that's when we saw a bunch of availability come on. We saw that availability consumed by the short sellers. And I'm interested to see if we're still around the 30% range. I would guess not. But if we're still over 20, then I think we're still in a really good place for a potential short squeeze to play out. But all of these other factors have got to come into play, which is just an insane amount of things that need to line up in order to make these things a reality. So, and the price itself being a big piece of that puzzle. So let's hope these green candles continue here that we've seen since this big sell-off this morning. And but I do like that $20 bounce zone is holding up so strongly. Gives me some faith. There was this topping out here previously at about 21.66, but there's definitely some stickiness there because it also had support here in that range. And then this $22 might be a little bit dicey as well, as you had support here and resistance here previously. So that's what I'm going to be keeping an eye on. The other thing that I was looking at just for the heck of it, and we can go over this someday in more depth, or you can just look up other videos or whatever about it, but the on balance volume indicator, so low here, minus 8.22 million. That's insane. Down here when it was getting bludgeoned this morning, it was down to almost 14.5 million. So, pretty insane, the selling volume that was coming in to cause that to happen. Also, if we look at the volume analysis. So huge selling pressure that we've seen here at the 2090 price. But then, interestingly enough, at 2085, we see pretty solid buying pressure. Now, the scale on these two is way different, obviously. But, it's sort of like an interesting, can we get over 21? Is my next question, because then there may be a bunch of buying volume that comes in to see the price starting to recover there. So we are over 21 right now, and I think as we can continue to get some distance from there, that might bring in some additional buying pressure to maybe, even have an opportunity to make a run at 22 support by the end of the day. That would be phenomenal. If we look at the short data, just to get an update on that, this fee does continue to creep down, which isn't my favorite thing to see. From yesterday here in the mid 80s, started off the day yesterday near 100 and then crept down through the 80s, and now it's into the 70s. Still very high. This won't really shake my confidence in the potential for a short squeeze until it gets below 40, 30, something like that. Then I'll start to go, this fee might not be enough to rattle people's cages. So I still think it's in a fine place. Best case scenario is it starts to go back up, but we just don't see that right now. What we saw earlier today was opening up. Someone had taken a borrow of 100,000 shares. And again, this is just from Interactive Brokers. This isn't every brokerage, but it could be an analog for what is generally happening across other brokers. And then, there was some closing of positions, and then some borrowing volume, and then just a bunch of stagnation. But then there was a big close, or a decent sized close, that came in before noon. And then we haven't seen any more borrows come out since then. So this again is, for me to say, we might see some additional closing before we are through, since it's Friday, and that could help bolster the price going into close. We see what happens the last few days. There was that huge uptick, and then we did have a big pullback yesterday in the short volume ratio, but it was a much lower volume day yesterday as well. Just not even 6 million shares traded. And, we had almost triple that the day before and almost double that the day before that. So pretty low volume day all around yesterday. But, we did see also a decrease in the ratio. So it'll be really interesting to see. There's some things that, unfortunately, because of the merger, we just don't have insight into yet, like what the percentage of the float that's being shorted is currently. And we won't know for a little bit of time. But this is what I'm looking for as the day plays out. I haven't made any changes to my positions for the time being. And, we'll continue to monitor it and do update videos and kind of see what might be happening. But I hope everyone had a decent trading week, or maybe even a great trading week. But I hope you have a good weekend, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.